On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we talk about The Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
And we're two professional broadcasters. We both really like heavy metal, and we're going to talk about it. Today, of course, we're talking about probably one of the top 10 most legendary heavy metal albums of all time. Iron Maiden's The Number of the Beast.
El Nombre de la Bestia.
Yes, as we just taught ourselves in Spanish. Came out in 1982. And boy, howdy.
It was their third album?
Yes.
Third, yeah.
Some good shit. Spoilers, it's good shit.
It's good shit.
It's considered one of the best heavy metal albums of all time for good reason.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit more about that later. First, I got a kitty.
Yeah, you did. I saw your kitty.
I got a
Yeah. I saw your kitty.
Yeah, I got a cute kitty. Her name is Zima. She's real shy, so she's hiding somewhere because she doesn't know you.
Sure. I tried to get to know her and put my finger out, and she looked at it. She went, "No, I'm out of here."
Nah, I'm gonna leave her. She's probably stretched out on the couch at the moment.
Right.
She seems to like the end closest to my chair. And yeah, she's pretty shy. I kept her in the bathroom the first day.
Sure.
Just so because the cat box is in there. And just wanted her to make sure she knew where that was and everything, and then slowly kind of introduced her to the rest of the apartment. And yeah, it's been going pretty well. She's a nice kitty.
Nice kitty.
Nice kitty. I did have to I had to hide my plant that I have. I in my kitchen usually have like a little sentry plant. It's a small spiky succulent, basically. Right. She's very interested in that, so I moved it in here into the electronics room.
It's not here. I don't see it.
I put it in my bedroom because I wanted to leave the door to this room somewhat open for the time being, at least while I'm here, because I'm going to be in here. Right. I don't want to be in here with the door closed.
It gets hot.
Yeah, it gets very hot in here. So I wanted to leave the door open, but can't do that with the plant because she keeps on trying to eat it. And
did you look up what it would do to her if you?
I don't know what kind of plant it actually is. I searched sentry plant, and that does not look right because sentry plants are sentry plants are technically agave plants, just not quite the type you'd make tequila out of. No, they usually have very wide leaves. And these leaves are very narrow and slender, but they still have little spikes on them. So it's probably some cultivar of sentry plant, but it's not like poisonous necessarily. It's just she's not going to have a good time if she eats a whole bunch of it. She's going to have a very upset tummy.
What'd you do with the magic mushrooms you had growing?
Oh, I ate all of those.
You ate all. Shortly before my arrival. This is going to be very interesting.
Yep. Yeah, I ate all of those about 20 minutes ago. So by the end of the podcast, things should be interesting. But yeah, it's sitting in the bedroom at the moment, the room that typically has the least amount of natural light. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's been good. I started watching Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Sure.
Well, I don't know if you call it a classic. It only came out 10 years ago, but it's
still great.
Yeah, very good anime based on a very good manga. It's the second adaptation of it, and it's actually the first anime I've sought out to watch of my own accord.
Wow.
I've lived with people who would watch anime, and I'd sit down and watch a little bit of it with them. My upstairs neighbor for a long time, she would come down and we'd watch anime together.
Not here, though.
Not here.
Because you live on the top floor, that'd be weird. If you
the
had an
upstairs neighbor is
the lady on the roof,
the weird roof girl.
Yeah.
But no, we'd watch some anime, but it was always kind of like it's never quite been my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of them, the pacing is just a little too weird, and the sort of the back and forth for some of them between we've had this really serious moment, and then everyone's silly, like that. That sort of has always bugged me a little bit. Or alternatively, you get ones where I remember I watched Gantz, something like that.
Gantz?
No, Gantz. Yeah, Gantz, which is about there's this weird alien machine, and when people in a certain radius around it die, it grabs them and reconstructs them.
Wow.
And then gives them little tools to fight other aliens.
Wow.
That have showed up. But everyone in that show is so fucking miserable all the time.
Yeah.
All of it I watched it seemed so miserable. Maybe it's because I was miserable at the time because I was in Fargo at my friend's place and I had a headache and I was like, I have this horrible headache and I'm going to a fucking deathcore concert tonight. Like I
cannot do this.
I cannot do this. And when I left for the concert, that's right when it started getting fucking good.
So
even though we had been watching it for what felt like 12 hours. 12 hours in, it gets really good.
You just wait.
You just wait.
Just have some patience.
And it did. It got really brutal and like horrifying. And it was like, this is... we watched some of the clips when I came back. We watched some of the clips that I had missed. And I was like, God, this is pretty cool. But I missed all of that. And it was subtitled too. It wasn't a dub. So
you had to read.
Yeah, I had to read. And it was, but Full Metal Alchemist, I've been enjoying massively. It's kind of one of those shows that a lot of my friends have watched and have always recommended to me, and I know it's really good. So I was like, okay, I gotta sit down and watch it. And the voice cast I'm familiar with. I'm a big fan of Travis Willingham and Laura Bailey's in it as well, and they're married, and that's kind of
in real life.
Yeah, in real life. Yeah. And so I was like, I should do this. Let's just watch it and see how it goes.
And you've enjoyed it.
I've been enjoying it a lot. It's a show that strikes a very good balance between a lot of the things and seems to omit a lot of the stuff that I traditionally don't like very much about anime. And I'm enjoying it a lot. The next one on my list that I'm supposed to watch is Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
I need to watch Cowboy Bebop.
You do need to watch Cowboy Bebop.
I probably need to watch Akira, which is that's a movie, so that's not hard.
Ghost in the Shell.
Probably Ghost in the Shell at some point. And then I don't know if I'd ever be able to work myself up to watching Neon Genesis Evangelion, because that's another one of those shows where everyone is just so miserable all the time. That's kind of the point of the show, is everyone is really miserable all the time. I don't think I could stand that. Giant robots or no, I don't think I can stand it. I mean, the fact that one of the common refrains from fans of the show is "Get in the fucking robot, Shinji," shows the sort of relationship people seem to have with this show.
They're fans, but they're still disgruntled about it.
And the other relationship is, what the fuck is going on? This is really crazy. But yeah, that'd be maybe I'd watch it. I watched a very cool documentary over the weekend.
Did you?
It's called Tell Me Who I Am.
Oh, yeah.
British pair of twins. One of them gets in a horrible motorcycle accident. He's in a coma for 3 months. Wakes up, cannot remember anything about his life, except he recognizes his twin brother, remembers his name, does not remember anything else. And so his twin brother fills him in on, this has been our life. But he sort of figures out a little bit later on that his brother has been kind of painting a much prettier picture than
what was reality.
Yeah, than the reality. Yeah. And it's a very good documentary. It's heartbreaking. It's very, very good stuff. Thank you Hannah, my sister, for the recommendation.
Excellent. Thanks, Hannah.
You haven't even watched it.
I know, I haven't, but I've heard about it.
Did you ever watch Dear Zachary?
No, I haven't watched that yet.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
when you say you've watched twice and it kills you every time.
Yeah. The blow was not quite as devastating the second time, but it's I watched it. Like, it's one of those things that most people say it's like you can watch it once and then never watch it again.
Sure.
But for me, I loved the editing in it so much. I like, because it's just it's so quick, and it's like there's so much material, because it was basically almost a home movie in a sense. The guy who made it was a friend of the subject of the documentary, was also a filmmaker, and so this was a passion project of his, made from years and years and years and years of footage that he already had, and then he went around the country just with his video camera and interviewed all the people who knew his friend, and it's just like, and it's all, it was early 2000s, so everything, hundreds of hours of footage was all on like DV tapes. Can you imagine, and especially when you're doing it all on your own?
Sure.
Having to capture all of that footage off of the DV tapes, and like it boggles the mind how he was able to do this. And he wrote and composed the music himself. Like, it's a very impressive documentary, technically speaking, in addition to being one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever watched. So if you're ever in the mood for a good cry,
Dear Zachary,
a good and very
all right.
Probably a very ugly cry too. It's not going to be like a single tear rolling down. It's going to be an ugly cry, probably. That's the documentary right there.
All right.
So yeah, what you been up to?
God, I'm just a boring person. I really haven't done anything new or different in the last week. In the last 7 days, I've done. I guess tonight we started to watch. Because I've powerful women in the house that enjoy things like this. Reese Witherspoon's Shine On.
And how was that?
It was good. She interviews Dolly Parton and Pink, and it's basically her going around to different strong women and talking to them.
So this is Reese Witherspoon, just interviewing other female celebrities.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'd watch an interview with Dolly Parton.
Sure, yeah. She's awesome. Yeah.
Dolly Parton's awesome. I love Dolly Parton. She's great.
She's in her 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dolly's just, she's a national treasure.
She is. She's a world treasure.
Yes, a world treasure.
Yeah.
CMAs are on tonight because we care about that.
There's one thing I think I told you earlier. I have never sat down and watched an award ceremony.
I haven't watched many.
Yeah.
For me, it was always the Oscars. I haven't watched them in years, but the Oscars, I think occasionally the Grammys, Tonys a couple of times. We were talking about that earlier today. Tonys are always fun.
Sure.
The Tonys are almost always fun because Broadway people are, I think, more fun and funnier than sort of the corporate show that the Oscars has become, where they always try to make it like funny and stuff, where it's like, the Tonys doesn't ever feel like they're going for humor. They're just kind of, it's Broadway. It's Broadway being Broadway in the most Broadway fashion.
Sure.
And they have always struck me as being a little, the best Oscar experience I ever had was the year they basically made it the Tonys, because Hugh Jackman was hosting, and he was doing a lot of musical numbers and stuff, and that was the best Oscar that I can remember having watched, the best Oscars ceremony, and I've boycotted the Grammys forever because there's not any music on there that I really give a shit about.
Right.
The only one that I would care about in the slightest isn't televised, and is also a bullshit award anyway, because
what is it?
The Metal Award.
Oh, the Metal Award.
Best Metal Performance. It's not even Best Metal Song or
Best Metal Performance
Album. It's Best Performance, which is music video, is really what it is.
Really?
Because it has to be a single with a music video that got put out for it. And this year, it's probably going to be Tool.
You think so?
I'm calling it right now.
It's going to be Tool.
Tool is going to win the Grammy for Best Metal Performance this year. Doesn't matter whatever anyone else puts out. It's going to be Tool.
There it is. You heard it called here.
I called it. Or maybe it'll be Ghost again.
Maybe.
Could be Ghost. Did Ghost put out, are they putting out an album this year?
And this year, I don't think so. They put it on, 2 years ago? Was the last thing they put out?
Yeah, that was the one they won for.
Yeah.
This was Meliora, right?
No, the one after Meliora.
Okay. Yeah, they won a Grammy recently. And they were up against Mastodon for that, I think. Or did Mastodon win?
Mastodon won Best Song, didn't they? For it was for the opening track to Emperor of Sand.
Sultan's Curse?
Yeah, Sultan's Curse.
Maybe. Well, they were in the metal cat. I don't see. I don't.
It's all a blur.
I said I don't care, and now we're talking about it. But yeah, I generally don't care to think about that. But yeah, the Country Music Awards,
the CMAs.
I just hope Casey Musgraves wins something, because I think Casey Musgraves is awesome. I don't give a shit about really anybody else. I guess I kind of want Luke Combs to win some stuff.
Sure.
I like him a little bit more. He seems to be a bit more down to earth and a bit less corporate Nashville.
Right. He's just a big hairy dude.
Yeah. He's a good old boy. He looks like a fucking good old boy. Midland's up for a couple things too, and they got this whole fun 70s cowboy vibe that I like. Those are the only three country artists that I care. Okay, I lied. Chris Stapleton is also there too. like I am finding that there are, the longer I work at a country station,
because that's your job is to actually know the country music.
So I've got to find something that I genuinely enjoy, at least a little bit, and it's Chris Stapleton, Midland, Casey Musgraves, which is tragic because we hardly play anything of hers, and like Luke Combs and stuff. Basically, the weirder or more genuine you are as a country artist, the more I will like you. Like, I watched that Sturgill Simpson anime music video.
Sure.
That was the tits, man. That was so cool. Although it's hardly country music at this point, but it's so cool. So,
because he's branched out a lot.
Sturgill Simpson does whatever the fuck he wants.
He does.
And I appreciate that a lot. So, we should talk about the beer we have.
Sure, Stone Ripper.
Yeah, I selected it mostly because of the demon on the face. I was looking for a new beer, and I wanted something that we hadn't had before. Yeah, it's Stone Brewery, and the beer is called Ripper. But it reads Stone Ripper, and it's got this cool demon head on the front, which is like Eddie's been a demon before.
Sure.
That works. I wanted to find something. I wanted to find a British beer, but I don't know
it's
where
hard to find.
Yeah,
well, like
or
Newcastle.
I suppose.
Yeah,
like an English beer, because there's some Scotch ales, and of course you could
have got some Old English.
I could have got some gin.
Yeah, there you go.
Just
some
get
beef eaters.
Yeah, get a bottle of gin, and that's English enough, I suppose.
Me calling a lift to get home.
Sorry. Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden. And you'd never listened to this album all the way through before.
I had never listened to Number of the Beast all the way through. I was familiar with the title track. As with a fair amount of like classic heavy metal songs, Guitar Hero 3. There was a lot of classic metal and rock songs on Guitar Hero 3. Number of the Beast was one of them. And I had forgotten that song was on there, and then I heard the opening riff. I was like, this is more familiar than I thought it was. It's like, oh yeah. I do want to say, I listened to the 2015 remaster.
Right.
That is on Spotify.
It is pristine.
It is so clean. My God, it's probably the best remaster of it. Although I'm not familiar with the original.
The original
version.
was very good as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it was initially recorded very well.
And it has to be to a certain degree in order to get much out of a remaster as well. But holy shit, yeah, that is a pristine mix on that remaster. Very, very good job, whoever remastered that. Very good shit. So I know The Number of the Beast is an extremely important album
Extremely.
for you and your music taste. So why don't we get into that first?
All right, when I was like a younger child, like in the late 70s and early 80s, I remember seeing these posters and these T-shirts with these monsters on them scare the shit out of me. And, on one half of my brain. The other half of my brain was, can we go back and look at that poster again?
Yeah.
I want to see that. It's fucking awesome.
What is that? That's cool.
It's good. It's scary.
Is that a British flag?
and then of course, eventually I'm in the Philippines and I went to a place called Music Land. No, Music City. Was it Music City? Yeah.
Was that a Filipino shop or was that on the base?
Oh, it was a Filipino shop. And
Music City.
They sold these really crappy copies of music from around the world, and you buy them for 100 pesos, which is $5. Yep. And so I bought this album and Power Slave at the same time.
Okay.
And I listened to it at first, and I didn't understand what the hell I was listening to.
Yeah.
I was like, was I 13 yet? I don't think I was 13 yet. And then I listened to it again and again and again, and I'm like, yes, please.
You listened to it until you understood.
Until I understood it, and basically all the heavy metal that I've pumped through my brain in the last 33 years has been just sort of something I wanted to hear based on the fact that I listened to Iron Maiden.
Yeah. Everything that happened afterward is Iron Maiden's fault.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. So that happened, yeah.
So you got Power Slave and you got The Number of the Beast. Which one, did you have a favorite at first?
I didn't have a favorite at first. And I still kind of don't. They both scratch a similar itch, but a slightly different one. I almost didn't. I almost suggested we listen to Power Slave instead of this one, but then I went with this one because it was more historically significant.
Yeah. Well, and we talked about this, was it earlier today or maybe yesterday?
Yeah.
About how the deal with Iron Maiden is kind of like the deal with Mastodon, where it's like, they don't have bad albums.
No, there's no bad Iron Maiden album.
They just have albums that you don't like as much as another album, or that you don't consider to be as good as their other stuff. But the bass line is still good shit.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of the bass line, me and Steve Harris's bass work on everything is crazy.
I need to pay more attention to the bass on this. I was kind of caught up in the riffs, and the I didn't even notice I noticed the drumming a little bit. There was, especially for like an early heavy metal album, there's a fair amount of double bass on here.
Yeah, this is Clive's last album with them, I believe.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
There's a fair amount of double bass on this, and but I was mostly caught up in a little bit in the drums, but mostly in the guitars and in Bruce Dickinson doing his thing, like a fucking
which he can still do. He's in his 60s now, and he can still belt it.
It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bruce Dickinson doing his thing on this album. He's good.
Well, yeah,
he's very good. He is a god. He's like Bruce Dickinson is probably out of all the earlier heavy metal and thrash albums that we've listened to, where the vocalists use the operatic vocal. Bruce Dickinson is the one I think that pulls it off the best, because I was never once annoyed by Bruce Dickinson. There's been moments in some of those other albums when I was like, okay, he's sing like a normal person,
which he is singing like he's using his voice to the max on this.
Yes, and he's very, very, very good at it. And I never noticed on Number of the Beast how when he says the line in the chorus, where 666, the number of the beast, he's kind of growling that a little bit.
A bit, yeah.
He's getting some grit in there, a little bit of distortion in there that he doesn't really use on any of the rest of the album, but he kind of yells that instead of sings it. He adds some more grit that's kind of not present on a lot of the rest of the album. Occasionally it'll pop up for emphasis.
Sure.
But that was, I'd forgotten about that, or maybe had never noticed it before, and I was kind of like, oh, okay. I don't know. I was delighted. I was delighted by this album.
And one thing I noticed as I got older that I didn't notice early on because I was a kid, and listening to early Iron Maiden, a lot of it sounds almost like Sideshow Entertainment. Or that's sort of
sort of the rhythm that they have going. like the opening riff to the number of the number of the beast is dun 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 dun. Oh God, I just did Baby Shark. Yeah, there. I think I'm missing a beat in there. I'm definitely
dun 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 dun.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's better if you do it halftime. But like it's not frightening or intimidating. Really, it's actually a pretty pleasant riff. And that's sort of the character of a lot of the songs on this album. Nothing is like when people think of metal, they think
something
scary,
menacing. Yeah,
menacing. The most menacing
song on here.
The most menacing thing. I've suddenly become one of the Animaniacs. No, the most menacing thing on probably any Iron Maiden record is the cover art.
Well, sure.
Is like Eddie is the scariest thing about Iron Maiden.
And the thing is you have the perspective of someone who, was born in 1996.
Absolutely, yes.
So in 1982, or even as early as when I started listening to it, this was the heaviest fucking thing on the planet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Certainly. It's kind of weird almost to think, though, that, 3 years later, you had Rain in Blood?
Yeah, that was 86. That was 4 years later.
4 years later.
Yeah.
But where music would go, where metal would go so quick.
The next year, actually, Slayer's first album came out.
Yeah.
The year after this would be, Show No Mercy.
It's crazy. The journey that heavy metal went on throughout the 80s. Yeah. You start out with, in 1980 with stuff like Iron Maiden and, hair metal starting to become a thing.
It's even late 70s.
And Sabbath is still, Sabbath is
putting
just
out albums,
entering into the Dio period and that sort of thing. And I think that was 1980 because I think it was 79 when they fired Ozzy.
Was it 79 they fired Ozzy?
I think so, because he was in the band originally for like 10 years, I think. It was like a 10-year run. And then they fired him. So that's the sort of stuff that you've got going into the 80s. And then coming out of the 80s, you've got fucking Death. You've got fucking Mayhem starting to do their shit.
Right.
You've got, like second wave black metal is starting.
That escalated fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like death metal has become a thing. Like metallic hardcore is starting to form. Like it's the explosion in the late 80s of all these different kinds of metal that suddenly show up. That's such a weird and dizzying journey that one subgenre of rock took in a 10-year period,
and then exploded into so many subgenres.
Yeah, it just kept on
itself.
Fracturing as you go into the 90s. It's just it's baffling to me
because so many people loved it and realized just the power of it.
Yeah, because it's just there's something to be said about just going fucking nuts with it. And just getting heavy and getting angry and getting weird.
And as it turns out, Mom and Dad think we're worshiping Satan now. And that only adds to the mystique of it.
Yes.
What? You hate it because it's Satanic? Wow, yeah.
Did you say Satanic?
It's
Satanic. Ho, ho, ho. This is my guitar. Let's play a jolly little riff. I'll take you to hell. Get on my sleigh, kids. Time to go to eternal torment.
And when I say sleigh kids, ho ho ho.
Yep.
All right.
But yeah, okay. We can talk a little bit about the album itself.
All right.
I do love, and it's because the thing is we've usually bring kind of thrash and or maybe something slightly proggy or a early like proto death metal type thing. Wikipedia right there, it's just when it lists genre, it's just heavy metal.
That's it.
That's it. There's nothing else. It's just heavy fucking metal.
That's all it is.
I was also surprised at how short the album feels.
Yeah.
40 minutes. Like there's other albums that are 40 minutes long, but this goes by so quickly.
It doesn't lull. There are no lulls. And there are slow points, but they're not lulls.
And there are some long songs on here. There are some fairly long songs on this album.
Yeah.
But none of them ever get boring. You never go, I wish this song was over with. Because the riffs.
Right.
Oh, there's really, really good riffs on this album.
Every riff on here is magic.
Yeah. And like I mentioned this to you earlier today, is like I was kind of worried going into this. The same worry I have going into a lot of classic heavy metal albums, that I was going to fall victim to the whole Seinfeld isn't funny trope, which is that, I have listened to so many albums that are derived from and inspired by Iron Maiden stuff. I've heard all their tricks. It's not going to be impressive to me. The same way that if you grew up watching if you grew up watching The Big Bang Theory, or you grew up watching on the more extreme end, if you grew up watching like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and you go back and watch Seinfeld, Seinfeld's not going to be all that funny to you.
It doesn't have an edge. It's it's just people talking.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
It's not going to be as fun unless you like appreciate comedy.
Or when you go back and watch the Brady Bunch.
Yeah. Like that sort of thing.
Yeah, I've gone back and I've watched episodes of the Brady Bunch, and I'm just slack-jawed. Just like, who the fuck thought this was entertainment?
Who would watch this?
I did. I laughed at this when I was a kid. This is terrible.
But then again, I like the sitcom analogy doesn't quite work for me, because I went back and watched Cheers and was delighted.
It's a great show.
But part of that is, it's less about the premise and more about the delivery and the writing, because Cheers is an extremely clever show.
Yes.
This came out in 1982, album number 3. It was their first album with Bruce Dickinson, replacing a previous vocalist who had some drug problems, and there was some creative differences. And so he
was from the band Samson.
Yes. He joined on, and I didn't know quite where I was going. I was kind of perusing through the Wikipedia.
There's so much.
The sheaf of information I printed off here.
Yeah.
But the thing that I thought was interesting, it didn't surprise me in the slightest, but the reaction to the album from specifically Americans. They never really made any mention of like people in the UK freaking out about the fact that the album was called The Number of the Beast, because that's kind of the only satanic thing on the album. That's even remotely just mentions Satan.
Right. Every song is a different theme entirely. From one another.
Most of them are historical themes.
And
that's been a running theme with,
or about a TV show.
Yeah, what was the one?
The Prisoner.
Oh, okay.
It was about a TV show. It was based on a TV show.
I figured
The Prisoner.
I figured with the intro there, that seemed to be a sample. It was probably from something they had watched and gone, let's write a song. Oh, mate, let's write a song about that. I don't know what they sounded like. They were British, so.
Who are you? The new number 2.
I am not a prisoner. I am not a number.
I'm a free man. Yeah. That's actually a clip from the TV show.
I imagine so.
Which, by the way, if you ever get a chance, watch that.
The Prisoner?
The Prisoner. It's a brilliant show. Brilliantly made show in the 1960s. They were going to have these crazy, watcher robots. And, man, we don't have the budget and we don't have the technology to make this shit happen. What if we just did balloons? And that's what they fucking did. Well, beware the balloons come in. Oh, scary. It's a balloon. Why are they scared of the balloon? They're making it scary.
Some real season 1 of Doctor Who shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god. At least the first run of Doctor Who in the 60s, at least they had the Dalek costume.
Sure.
But that's literally like a couple of hunks of steel and with some balls glued to it, and the Daleks are a very simple design. They're not too hard to make.
No.
And especially when the camera is, when you're on TV in the 60s, it don't need to look good.
No.
The camera will hide a lot.
It's going to be very soft.
Yes, the camera will hide a lot, and the TV will hide even more.
Yeah.
But I don't remember. The reaction, all of the protests in the U.S. about this album, and I just think it's hilarious.
Sure.
But because like you said, this was like the heaviest thing anybody had ever heard when it came out.
Right.
But now I think of like all of the metal that I've listened to since then.
Yeah.
People didn't freak out at that much about Mayhem burning churches down at the time in Norway.
Well,
I don't think people freaked out that harshly at Mayhem.
And you have to realize with the protests in the 80s, it was an early landing of the Streisand effect.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and Bruce Dickinson has said, he was like, we thought it was hilarious, and it was free publicity. It was absolutely free.
Right.
Got our name out to everybody, and all the kids of these people who were freaking out were going, I want to listen to this album.
And they did.
And they did. Like, and Iron Maiden probably made quite a bit of money off of that.
Millions.
And it's I just think it's hilarious considering the stuff that would come out not 10 years later.
Yeah.
Not 10 years later you have Mayhem. And I guess I don't know too much about the public reaction to all of the stuff that was going on at that time. Again, also Mayhem was not nearly as high profile.
No.
Certainly the church burnings were fairly high profile, but
Sure, but they didn't really get Mayhem really they didn't talk about Mayhem so much in the church burning
it
discussion in the news.
talking about Varg mostly and
And that was just once it was, he was caught.
This man is related was in black metal bands.
Sure.
And he murdered his friend. Well, his bandmate, not his friend.
No.
That shouldn't be how you treat your friends, everybody.
Just so you know. Yeah.
Friends don't stab other friends 23 times.
And once in the head. And also,
Yes.
friends don't tell their other friends that, you're so obsessed with death, you should probably try and commit suicide.
Yeah, you should probably just kill yourself.
Yeah. Which is what,
God.
Euronymous did to death.
Black
Dead.
Metal January coming up in a few months.
Yeah.
But the album also was a huge critical success. In addition to all the buzz that got generated from the protests and whatnot.
Right.
But like critics loved it.
We're like, this is great.
And rightly so. It was amazing then. It's amazing now. And I'm glad this wasn't a sleeper hit. This wasn't one of those ones that years later people were like, who was really good? These guys. Too bad they're not around anymore.
And they are around still. I mean,
Yeah, Iron Maiden is still
doing it.
They're still doing it.
I had a friend of mine, his name is Tag. He lives down in Bismarck now. He went to go see Iron Maiden, and his in Winnipeg. He was going to go to the show, and his father was like 45 years older than him. And his grandmother, who was his father's mother, was old when his father was born. So she's this woman from the the 19th century.
Yeah.
And she's telling Tag when he's going to see, famously in our social circle, he says, and Grandma sat me down and said, "Now I want you to sit close so you can hear all the solos."
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah.
That is so sweet. A bunch of old people going to an Iron Maiden concert. That is wonderful. Did they? Do you know the rest of this? Did they go and enjoy?
Well, no, he went. He went
Oh,
and
he
enjoyed.
went.
No, he
She
talked
told
before
him.
he went.
Okay.
Yeah, sit close. You can hear all the solos.
That's very sweet.
Yeah, and this album, I mean, all the different themes in here, like you have prostitution, you have
Indian Wars.
the Indian Wars, you have Run to the Hills. You didn't recognize that song, did you?
Yes,
of course.
It was familiar.
And then, of course, the final song on here is freaking amazing. Hallowed be thy name.
God, hallowed be thy name. It's so good.
Yeah.
Very, very. I love the riff. It's a pretty simple riff, but
Yeah.
God, it worked. I mean, I love simple and effective riffs. Like one of my other favorite singular riffs is Hearts Alive by Mastodon.
Sure.
That closing riff.
Yeah.
That's
Hell yeah.
so chunky, and it's like I really appreciate simple riffs, and hallowed by them.
Hallowed be thy name.
From now on, whenever I mispronounce something, I'm turning into one of the brothers from
Animaniacs.
Yeah, it's either
Wacko or Yakko.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one.
Yeah. Or Dot. It should be Dot.
I could be Dot. I don't know. But Hallowed Be Thy Name
Yeah.
has a nice riff.
Yes, it does. And it's about the death penalty.
Yes. And I love the chorus too. I can't the lyrics aren't coming to mind right now, but I thought the lyrics were
Fantastic.
very good.
Yeah.
God, it's such a good song. So we mentioned critical response. We should talk about does this album slap?
Yes,
we've
this
been
slaps.
We've been kind of slacking on our criteria.
Yeah.
Mostly because I've been forgetting to write notes on my little notepad.
Sure.
But yeah, this slaps.
Yeah,
It's got
it
the
does.
slap. It's got the slap.
So this. You all right?
I'm
You
trying
gonna
to
make
burp.
it?
I'm trying to burp.
Just don't barf. Although that would be hilarious. I would love to see you just hurl all of your paperwork.
Let's see. Where's the
Looking
we
for
go.
the because you got so many pages there.
Yes, there are a lot of pages here. So, is there? How have they not linked a Metacritic score on here?
I don't know.
Are you fucking kidding me, Wikipedia? Get your shit together. So let's see. 4.5 out of 5 from All Music. Favorable from BBC Music.
Yes, it was favorable.
The Collector's Guide to Heavy Metal gave it an 8 out of 10. It's got a 9 on Pitchfork. It's only got a 3.5 from Rolling Stone. I wonder if that's a standing criticism from back in the day.
I don't know. 3.5 out of what?
3.5 out of 5.
Really?
No, sorry, 2.5 out of 5. They gave it a 50%.
Weird.
That's an F.
That is.
What the fuck, Rolling Stone? Get your shit together. Some publication just called Sounds gave it a 5 out of 5.
Sure.
Sputnik Music, 4.5 out of 5. And a publication called The Daily Vault, an A-. I think the only one I agree with there is the 5 out of 5.
Sure. Agreed.
It deserves full marks on this one. Full marks from the headmaster.
This is a classic.
It's a classic, and it's not just a classic because it came out, it was super heavy, and then later people were like, oh yeah, that was good at the time, but no,
now.
You listen to it's good now.
Yeah.
It's good now. So what is your favorite song on the album?
My favorite song on the album. God, that's so hard to pick because I love every moment of this fucking album. I don't. For some reason, the one that always sticks in my head is "Children of the Damned." I don't know.
Children of the Damned is good.
Yeah.
I have to pick Hallowed Be,
Hallowed Be Thy Name.
I can't say it. I'm allergic to the name of this song, which is tragic.
Terrible.
Because I love it so much. Yeah.
Hallowed Be Thy Name is brilliant. It's one of the first riffs I learned to play on guitar. One of them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to pick Hallowed Be Thy Name. It's the album closer. It does such a great job as an album closer. And I really appreciate that too when you leave on such an epic note. I love a good album closer. And I can't remember, does Hallowed Be Thy Name fade out or does it end?
It ends.
Yeah, I appreciate that too.
They do that. They do that on their songs. They end them.
I don't like album closers that fade out.
Right.
That bugs the shit out of me. Just like, okay, you had a good riff, now end the riff, resolve it. I want there to be a cessation that feels satisfying. Mastodon is very good at that. They always end their riffs.
Yep. Very well.
Yes.
Yep.
Gojira tends to end their riffs like I don't like songs that fade out, especially at the end of an album, because I'm the kind of guy who listens to a lot of music by the album because of what we do.
This type of music, you listen to the full set of albums.
Yeah, and I prefer having it feel like a closed experience, and I appreciate when there is some resolution and some closure to this sonic journey you went on for the last 40 to 50 minutes.
And really, Hallowed Be Thy Name doesn't have a chorus.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's one of the proggier songs on here. And I was kind of surprised by how they kind of came up in the progressive rock period.
Sure.
Especially in British rock music, sort of in the new wave era of British rock music and British heavy metal. There was a lot of progressive stuff going around. And I read a comment on Reddit because someone was talking about like how intimidating their album art looks like and how tame their sound is in comparison. and they're talking about like, yeah, I thought it was going to be super brutal, but it ended up just feeling like a slightly heavier Rush. But it works for them.
Well, yeah.
It works very, very well. I'd love to go see them live.
Indeed.
I'd very much love to go see them live and listen to Bruce Dickinson. And he looks good, too.
Yeah, and he's like 5'1".
I didn't know he was that short.
Oh, he's tiny.
He's a very small guy. But yeah, he looks good for his age, and especially having been a heavy metal singer for the last 40 years. Yeah. he looks pretty good. He's in good condition. And I like to see that. Rock musicians that have taken care of themselves.
I almost went to go see them, and I didn't. Here a couple of years ago. I was going to go see them and Ghost.
That's
Iron Maiden and Ghost.
That's an interesting tour.
Yeah. And for some reason I didn't get tickets in time, and then Ghost came to Fargo, and I went to go see them there.
I tell you what, you got to do yourself a favor.
Yeah.
Next time they're within reaching distance, you got to go see them, because don't let it be a Slayer situation.
Yeah.
You were lamenting.
They're playing on Friday in Sucks Falls.
Yeah.
Or is it Sucks Falls?
First of all, it's Sioux Falls, and you know that.
I have friends that live there.
So you call
Trust
it
me.
Sucks Falls.
It Sucks Falls. No
would,
offense to the people that live there.
Yeah.
You're awesome. We love you.
It would either be Sioux Falls or Rapid City.
Yeah.
It's one of the two.
Right.
If it's in South Dakota, it's going to be one of the two.
Yeah, because I saw there was a video that was on from Madison Square Garden of their final performance there forever. Slayer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was kind of, well, that's sad, just watching old men trudge off a stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, people were speculating what the set list is going to be for the final show.
Yeah.
If you had to put together a Slayer set list, say you have to limit it to, I mean, they're not going to do this. They're probably going to play like
hours.
Yeah.
It's going to play a couple of hours.
Like 5 hours of music.
Right. Because this is it. This is it. That's all we're going to do.
But if you had to boil down, if you were Carrie and Tom and the rest of the boys, what would be the 5 songs you would choose for your last performance?
Last performance.
Yes, your 5 Slayer songs.
Well, I'd want to go out with Rain and Blood.
Yeah, you got
Raining Blood. Yeah.
Especially with the way that Raining Blood ends too, where it just kind of stops and then there is storm noises.
Yeah,
like that seems like such a fitting end for Slayer. Kitty walked by. She's come out of hiding. Hi, Kitty.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with that. Probably Raining Blood. Where the other 4?
The other 4, I don't know. I don't know. There are just too many.
I feel like you kind of you don't want to play too much off of Rain in Blood.
No,
but you kind of have to do Angel of Death.
Yeah, unless they open with that.
That's what I feel like. Open with Angel of Death, because nothing gets a crowd pumped more than Angel of Death. That's scientifically proven. Play some other stuff. Everything in the set list is just filler between Angel of Death and Raining Blood.
Play all of South of Heaven. Play all of Show No Mercy. All of Hell Awaits.
And then Raining Blood. But yeah, don't let Iron Maiden be like Slayer, because you never know. They're not getting any younger.
Because I noticed the rest, like I saw Dave Murray recently from Iron Maiden, and I didn't know it was him. And I thought, oh wow, somebody helped their grandpa out of the back of the car.
Oh no!
Yeah,
that's one of my heroes.
Yeah. Oh, he's still standing up, I guess. That's awesome. That's
good.
At
least he's doing that. But yeah, don't let Iron Maiden be like Slayer, where you might miss out on it.
Right.
I had an opportunity to go to Dillinger Escape Plan show on their last tour that I think might have been in Fargo, or maybe it was in Minneapolis, but I probably could have gone. I didn't go. And I really regret that. I never get to go to a Dillinger Escape Plan show, because those shows are fucking bonkers.
Sure.
I probably would have gotten horribly injured, but I would have had a great time.
Sure, you'd have worn that broken leg with a smile.
Or the smile would have involved a couple of missing teeth.
Sure.
Probably because
I thought they're not playing anymore.
they aren't. They called it quits in 2017.
Sure.
Or at least they went on pretty much permanent hiatus.
Right.
It's like they said, like, we're not necessarily saying there's never going to be Dillinger stuff again, but there's probably not.
What's the name of the band with him and Troy and Massimio?
Kill or Be Killed.
Kill or Be Killed. Yeah.
Yep. I don't know if they're planning on doing any stuff.
Can't believe I just called him Massimio.
Massimio?
Like I'm his mom or something. Max Cavalera.
Max Cavalera. I don't know if they're planning on getting back together at some point, but yeah, like I feel like if I would have lost teeth, it would have been from Greg jumping into the crowd and shoving the microphone in my face a little too forcefully. Like, you look like you know the lyrics.
Ah, fuck! Those are the lyrics. You know them. Yes. All right. Excellent. Very good. There's a tooth sticking out
of the microphone, embedded in the mesh of that SM58.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. I really regret not having gone to one of those shows because man, their shows were something else.
To a DEP show.
Yep. To a DEP, a dip.
My second youngest. That's what we'll say. Who is awesome. One of my favorite people has become an MCR fan recently.
That's interesting too.
Yeah,
that's a recent development because she kind of missed the window.
Yeah, I know.
I missed the window. I'm 23 and I missed the MCR
touring again
window.
apparently.
Yeah, they're getting back together.
Yeah,
but I'm 23 and I missed the window.
She likes that. She likes 21 Pilots. She likes Panic at the Disco.
Look, there's not a lot of good pop emo being made these days.
Right.
They don't make them like they used to, so you got to go back a little bit. If you're gonna go through your emo phase, you kind of have to dig a little bit. So you got to go back. It's just how it works.
You know, I think some good emo music I could get her into is like Cradle of Filth.
There you go.
There you go. That's
get her into. Some semi-unironically Panopticon.
Yeah, there you go.
Semi-unironically. I mean, it's emotional.
It's
It's
not emo, it's emotional.
Yes.
Yeah. It's with feeling.
It will make you feel things.
Give you the feels.
It will give you the I've kind of turned against that. I used to say that unironically. I've turned against. I felt so many feels during that. Come on. Describe the emotions.
Yes.
Please, if you can. Or if you can't, just say, I can't describe how it made me feel. It was that amazing. That's it was ineffable.
Ineffable.
I was digging through my vocabulary for a second because I knew there was a word that describes the feeling that you can't describe something.
Right. It's ineffable.
It's ineffable.
Which I love the word ineffable because it does what you just said it does, but also it sounds like
you can't fuck it.
Yeah, it's unfuckable.
That right there is unfuckable.
Oddly, he pointed at his cat. No, I know he didn't.
I did. Pointed at my chair.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. Well, yeah. I don't know.
There's some holes.
It's a hot chair, man.
There's some holes. There's some curves on that chair. Some nooks and crannies in there. Yeah. That right there is unfuckable. Sir, I will take that as a challenge.
Sir, please get off the table. Sir.
I'm Mr. Fuxton.
Sir.
I can fuck anything.
My dad used to say.
It's the man who can.
I'd like to make love to this lasagna.
Dad, please.
Dad, no.
Barry.
Stop.
Barry. I
never called him Barry.
You never called him Barry?
No.
Well, he's your dad.
Dad.
Yeah, he's your dad.
Mm-hmm.
I never call my dad Kevin unless I'm like need to get his attention and he's really spacing out. I'm just like, Dad. Dad. Kevin. Oh,
he's drunk in the yard.
no, that'd be our neighbor Gary. Drunk in our yard.
He's unfuckable.
Well, someone did. He's got some kids.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Occasionally it'd be like Kevin, or if you want to say, you just be like Borner, because then he might get it go into work mode. Or you could go with Beetle, I guess.
Beetle.
That'll get his attention.
Sure. His nickname. His
CB radio call sign from back in the day.
Sure.
And if you want to go really old school, you can call him Yates.
Yates.
I don't know where the name came from, but that's what his cousins called him.
Okay.
And I didn't know that until one of his cousins actually moved sort of into our neighborhood and was like, oh shit. He was like, oh shit, Kevin lives down here. I'm going to go say hi to Kevin, and knocked on the door. Man, I was like, Casey? And he's like, how you doing, Yates? And my mom was like, Yates? He just call you Yates? I haven't heard someone call you that in years. I don't know what the origin of that nickname was, but
interesting.
Interesting. Oh my God!
I tell you, this album gave me the feels.
Yeah. Hey, "Hallowed Be Thy Name" is legitimately
it does that. Well, actually,
there's
most
some
of the songs on here.
There's a fair amount of like provoking material, and that elicits some kind of emotional reaction.
Even the schizophrenic feel of oh my God, what's the name of the song?
22 Acacia
22
Avenue?
Acacia Avenue. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of it. Just there's surprisingly, I would catch the lyrics and be, oh wow, okay. It was surprisingly affecting. I was not expecting it at all.
Sure.
So we've kind of been belaboring the point the point here.
Yeah.
What metal are you giving this?
Gold.
Yeah, it's fucking gold.
It's fucking gold.
This is platinum.
Platinum.
Like we've been giving out a lot of golds lately. We've had a string of really good albums, but like this is like platinum. This is unobtainium type shit. Like
this is adamantium.
Careful, don't put it in sunlight. It'll dissolve or whatever. That's only in like old editions of D&D, I think, because it was a drow thing.
Adamantium, talking about Wolverine.
Oh, Wolverine.
Yeah.
I thought maybe you were going for D&D adamantium.
No, I was going for that adamantium. Made from adamant.
Yes. But, hi, I'm Adam Ant. Can you guess what my superpower is? No, I'm not Ant-Man.
No, I'm not
I'm
the
just
British
half-
pop star from the early 1980s.
No, I'm not those two weird South African people. Die Ant-Man.
D-Ant-Man.
D-Ant-Man.
Yeah.
We are D-Ant-Man. It's
strange.
It's what it is. It's Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
And it's Michael Douglas. Paul Rudd and Michael Douglas are making some weird hip hop. They've got really weird haircuts and crazy tattoos and shit and grills. Who's Yolandi? Which one's Yolandi? Which one's Yolandi?
Oh, it's Paul Rudd is Yolandi. Of course. Oh, that reminds me. Speaking of Michael Douglas, the Sam I Am TV series on Netflix. I recommend giving that a watch. It's for kids.
Okay.
But it is really emotionally and story complex.
Interesting.
It was weird. I'm like, what just happened? Oh shit!
This
is a kid's cartoon.
When is this from?
Like over the last year or so. There's 13 episodes. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Michael Douglas is in it.
Michael Douglas. Yeah, he plays the guy who won't eat green eggs and Greg's. He won't eat green eggs and ham.
I refuse to eat this Gregory. He is a human being
and unfuckable.
Hence, he shall remain undigested. I'll see. I'll give.
If you have like a downtime, and you want to watch a cartoon,
I'll see about it.
Yeah, Sam I Am. It was oddly,
okay,
compelling.
I'll
And Eddie Izzard is in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is sounding more and more compelling as we go along. I love Eddie Izzard.
Yeah.
All right. I'll have to check it out. I have to check that one out.
Okay.
Speaking of checking things out, next week, going to be checking out the new Fit for an Autopsy
Hell
album.
yes, I've already listened to it.
Yeah.
Let's do it again.
Called The Sea of Tragic Beasts. It's a deathcore album that came out a couple weeks ago. Spoilers, good stuff. One of their best albums in a long time. And I'm excited to talk about that. That's sort of getting I've been on kind of a string of new albums because there's been a lot of new albums coming out
and in the
fall.
You've introduced me to a lot of new shit.
Yeah.
I have to say, I went for a long dry period because I don't really have friends, much less friends who listen to heavy metal. I mean,
Yeah.
So and yeah.
I'm happy to be providing you with new stuff,
and I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm happy that you provide me with
old stuff.
Actually getting me to listen to Iron Maiden because I had a great time, and
You are welcome.
I don't know if I would have sought it out otherwise. That's the purpose of the podcast.
Sure.
Is us. It's a generational exchange of heavy metal music.
Just don't call me Dad.
No.
Or even worse. No, I'm not going to say that.
No, don't. Jesus Christ. Hate you.
Daddy. So anyway.
No. Why? You said you weren't going to say it, and then you said it.
Because it was going under the rug, and I couldn't let it.
Okay. All right. Whatever. Do you have an idea for after that? We're edging closer and closer to Death Metal December. What's your last November pick?
Last November pick. Oh shit! What's my last November pick? You know what? I'll tell you next week.
Okay.
I'll let you know next week.
Figure something out.
I have a lot of ideas, a lot of things I'm mulling over my head. Things you might not like, things you might like.
All right. I wouldn't have it any other way. So between now and then, you should check out our social media pages. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. If you like us or follow us, you can get updates on when we put out new episodes, and we'd really appreciate it if you shared or retweeted that around your social sphere. Let people know that this is a thing you like. They might like it too. That'd be cool if you did that.
Sure be cool.
You can also find us on Libsyn and on iTunes. Subscribe to our feeds there. You don't even need the social media stuff then. You'll get it automatically emailed to you, or it'll pop up on your phone. We'd still appreciate you sharing our stuff, getting the word out there.
Sharon.
You in particular, Sharon. All right, thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Bronze Metalist Podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations.
That it lacks when you're clinking cans together. That doesn't do anything.
I forgot to wash the glasses.
That's fine. Now we can't see.
Grab me that knife.
Here's what the hell okay. You may begin.
When it came to creating Ripper, we drew inspiration from the coastal surf cultures of SoCal and Oz, sourcing classic Cascade from the Pacific Northwest and Australian Galaxy hops from, yes, Australia. We made a beer both lovers of frothy peaks and hoppy green buds will be stoked about. It's not the only green buds they're stoked about.
Marijuana.
At the same time, we stayed true to our San Diego roots by pushing the hop boundaries of this style. While some might think it lingers on an edge far closer to an IPA, with all the dry hop flavor and aroma, it's actually right in line with the current day interpretation of a West Coast pale. Ours just so happens to have an Aussie accent that's cascading with a juicy amount of grapefruit and passion fruit hoppiness. So veg out or venture out. Either way, rip one open and taste this awesome golden nectar.
Hey, it's a Style Ripper. Oh, that's pretty good. That's a terrible Australian accent. Terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.